Sometimes, life has a way of bringing justice in ways we could never have predicted. And sometimes, the very person you think you can control, the one you've manipulated and tormented for years, finds the strength to turn the tables. This is a story of a man who thought he could get away with anything, a man who believed he could break the woman he swore to love. But he was wrong. Very wrong. This is the story of an evil husband who thought he was untouchable, but in the end, he realized that he would never go home again. Prepare yourself for a tale of deception, betrayal, and the terrifying realization of a man who, in his darkest moments, discovered just how far the consequences of his actions could stretch. A man who underestimated the woman he had thought to be weak. It started like any other marriage. He was charming, smooth-talking, the kind of man who could convince anyone of his good intentions. She, on the other hand, was gentle, loving, and trusting. They seemed like the perfect couple, young, in love, and ready to start a family. No one saw the cracks beneath the surface. No one could have known that beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect life lay a web of control and manipulation that would eventually lead to destruction. Their home was full of smiles and laughter at first, but over time, his true nature began to emerge. He started small, saying things like, "You don't need that job," or "I know what's best for you." Little by little, he took away her independence. He made her doubt herself. He isolated her from friends, from family, until all she had left was him. He had her right where he wanted her. It didn't take long for the manipulation to grow darker. Every decision she made was scrutinized. Every step she took was controlled. He twisted every situation to his advantage, always convincing her that she needed him, that without him, she would be lost. The gaslighting started. He would tell her that things weren't as she remembered, that she was overreacting. And, unfortunately, she believed him. She felt trapped in a life she didn't recognize anymore, suffocated by a man who she once thought would protect her, but now, all he did was tear her down. He started getting more brazen. His anger grew when things didn't go his way. But she stayed quiet, trying to keep the peace, afraid of what might happen if she stood up to him. He had her under his thumb. Or so he thought. But life has a way of breaking even the strongest chains, and no one, not even the most controlling of individuals, can maintain power forever. What he didn't anticipate was her quiet strength, the one thing he never thought to break. She had been watching. She had been listening. And she was beginning to see through his lies. She began planning. Small, quiet steps, no one knew. Not even him. She secretly contacted her friends, started saving money, and made connections with people who could help her. She knew, deep down, that she had to get out. But escaping him wasn't going to be easy. It would take time, patience, and the courage to break free of everything she had known. And then, one night, when he thought everything was under his control, she made her move. She put the plan into action. She knew that to get away from him, she needed him to underestimate her one last time. She needed him to think she was still the woman he had kept locked in his world of lies. The night he realized he was never going home started like any other. He came home late from work, expecting to see her waiting for him as usual, apologizing for whatever he had convinced her to believe she had done wrong. But when he walked through the door, something was different. The house was eerily quiet. No dinner waiting on the table. No sign of her anywhere. He called out her name, but there was no response. He looked around the house. His gaze shifted to the kitchen, the living room, the bedroom, but she was nowhere to be found. The silence began to press in on him. And then, on the kitchen counter, he found it. A letter. Her handwriting, simple and clear. "I'm leaving. It's over." His blood ran cold. He picked up the letter and read it again, and then again. No matter how many times he read it, the words didn't change. She was gone. But the worst part? She wasn't just gone physically. No, this was far worse. She had made sure he would never be able to control her again. She had outsmarted him in ways he never imagined. She had already taken steps to protect herself, and now, with no warning, she was free. The reality began to sink in, piece by piece. He immediately started looking for her, calling her phone, texting her, begging her to come back. But she was smarter than that. She had planned for this. She had already contacted authorities. She had already made sure her steps were covered. By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. He tried to track her down, but everything had been set in motion. His wife, the woman he thought he could control forever, had already been one step ahead of him. She had moved in silence, away from his reach, and now, he found himself trapped in his own lies, his own deceptions. Every attempt to find her, every phone call to her friends, every message he sent, it all went unanswered. He began to panic. His mind raced, realizing the severity of the situation. This was it. There was no going back. The woman he had manipulated and hurt for so long had finally taken control of her life, and he was the one left in the wreckage. As the days passed, the consequences of his actions caught up to him. His reputation, once flawless, began to unravel. People started talking, his friends, her family, the people who had witnessed his treatment of her. The truth came out, and it wasn't long before the world saw him for what he truly was. The authorities got involved, and soon, he found himself facing charges he never thought would come. His actions were finally catching up with him in ways he couldn't have imagined. His life, the one he had carefully curated through control and manipulation, was falling apart piece by piece. And the worst part? He knew, deep down, that he would never go home again. The home he had once controlled, the home that he thought would always be his, was now a distant memory. He would never have the power over her again. And that, more than anything else, was the final blow. In the end, justice didn't come in the way most people might have imagined. It didn't come in the form of a courtroom decision or a public trial. No, it came quietly, in the form of a woman who finally broke free, a woman who turned the tables on the man who thought he could control her forever. And the moment he realized he would never go home again, that was the moment he truly lost. Thank you for watching. If you found this story unsettling, please like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And remember, sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply walking away and never looking back.